sure it's recording here. Alrighty. Hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of Demon's LuteBox. It's me, Demon, and I also have, obviously, my co-host, the God Mouse, over here.
Hello.
Unfortunately, we don't have a guest today, but that's alright. Maybe we can find one for next week. We got a good amount of topics tonight. I know that there's been a lot that's been happening with gaming, and I have a couple things to talk about with investigations on lawsuits.
Oh.
Yeah, I know you were wanting to talk about the Path of Exile Backlash, so if you want to start or I can start, doesn't matter either way.
Well, I've got the Path of Exile thing pulled up right here.
Yeah.
And so in the first week, the Path of Exile had been released. This was back in early December last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it had 82% positive reviews whenever it was released.
Mm-hmm.
So, great game.
Yeah.
We both enjoyed playing it.
Very much so.
So I believe we discussed last week the update, the newest update for Path of Exile 2, right?
Yep.
And during this last week, it has gone from 82% positive reviews down to 18%.
That is absolutely insane. I said, I've seen a lot of the backlash online. I know that a lot of people weren't happy for the update or a lot of things that happened in the update. Before the podcast, like we were talking, for me, one of the big things that I heard was that the difficulty scale, and then on top of that, I feel playing single player, like it is just so much harder to level now. Like it takes so much longer to gain even just that one level. Whereas if you're playing multiplayer, it's a little different because, I feel like it's the conversation that kind of drives that to not feel as long.
Right. And honestly, I think that's probably a big part of it too. Some of the biggest complaints that people are saying is that it's just nerfing their builds. Everybody has their pet build or whatever, and a lot of times people will do the min-maxing and the kind of net decking of sorts for building their character. And then that's all great, but Path, the people, the GGG, the whatever, the people that make Path of Exile, they also look at those tier lists and stuff. They also see what the community sees the strongest, and they're like, okay, well, let's do a little bit of changes to that. Let's tweak things a little bit, and maybe they went a bit hard. I don't think that's up for debate. There's a lot of people complaining about how there's been a lot of nerfs and that they didn't make the in-game faster. Now, to be honest, that's not really where I'm at yet. I'm not messing with the in-game, but
yeah, I think
I
that
have
we're
noticed
both still on Act 3, so we haven't even technically beaten what content is out yet. So
right. Well, and once again, I have noticed, even just having played the last time we all got on, it was a bit slower. It did feel like we died more times too. It felt like the enemies could really catch you off guard if you weren't careful.
Yep. I will 100% agree with that, because before the update, honestly, if you had a group of people that were in any way competent, and you don't even really have to be competent, you can just kind of zone out and play. I mean, we had groups with me, you, and Nye where we were just literally walking through stages. Like, there was nothing stopping us. There was nothing that was going to stop us. And now it's like a fight actually feels like a fight. And like we were kind of talking about this whenever I first started playing Path with you, like the dodge roll actually has a very important role now. And I feel like one thing is, I think that they were trying to balance the classes, but I think they went a little overboard. But one thing that I've noticed is that out of all of the starting classes that you can choose, the warrior has the absolute shittiest start. I mean, well, honestly, I think it's probably the worst character, specifically because...
Or the monk.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even the monk has energy shield, so you have some kind of resistance to magical damage, and you don't have to be close up. Whereas the warrior is usually a tank.
You don't have to be close.
And whenever you are right there and you just immediately get swarmed by a group of enemies, you're dead. Like, you have to play extremely carefully, especially if you're a solo warrior, because you have absolutely nobody that can pull any kind of aggro at all. It's just you. and that's a
Yeah.
very dangerous situation. I know that there is like a dedicated group of people that try to solo hardcore warrior characters, and I know that
Right.
they were extremely up in arms because now, even now, like I said, that difficulty spike is so much harder, and it's so hard to have a hardcore warrior. Like that was one thing that I
I
noticed.
I just won't. I just
Yeah.
simply won't. This game has way too many what the fuck killed me moments.
Well,
So,
well, and I mean, whenever you think about it, I'm not going to say 90%, but a large portion later on in the game, enemies have an absolute fuck ton of ranged attacks. Bosses have
and
ranged attacks,
resistances
and
too.
yeah, and then I mean, it's playing a warrior is not fun. Like I feel sorry for everybody that plays warrior. Like I just feel like you have a masochistic relationship with the game because it's like you just enjoy
Well,
being tortured.
it might be a lot of it though, honestly. It might be this play styles and stuff. I know
True.
that maybe that's also the difference because I personally I found the warrior to be easier than the monk. From a fresh start. Now, granted, when you have the equipment, the monk might be significantly easier.
Well, see,
I'm not honestly sure, but
and
from a fresh start, the warrior it just seems like he can take more hits. You
well,
know,
see,
the monk might have the energy shield, but he still goes down like a fart.
well, and here's the thing though, is that like even still, like my first character, is a monk, and I would still
Right,
100% take
right.
the monk fresh start over a warrior, even with starting equipment. Like I had like 3 uniques equipped on my warrior for my first playthrough of him, and just could not, like I just couldn't get it. It just didn't make
Yeah.
sense to me, and like that's the thing that's weird to me because like the monk is more combo heavy. It's more, it's one of those classes that you really need to build if you want it to have any kind of survivability or do any kind of damage. It's very much so a combo class, and in its own right, the warrior I guess is too, with the totems and the what is it, the earth shaker
No, I
or
mean
whatever.
it's not as much. I mean, I definitely
No,
agree with
not
you.
as
The
much,
monk
but
is you can line up a lot more combos. I mean, whereas with the warrior, you can kind of just me smash and just keep leaping onto everything,
yeah.
barbarian
Well,
style, and
see, and that's the problem is
make it
that,
work,
and
kind
that's
of.
the thing though, is that now you can't really do that because if you do, you're gonna get punished for it. Like you get
Yeah.
punished for rushing is essentially how I feel, which is
Yeah, well,
fine.
the warrior right now, especially, is in a position, I think, that he already kind of struggled to get the damage by. I mean, whenever me and Nye played through just the 2-player game that we have, I was running the sorceress and he was running the warrior.
Yeah.
And because I was running the sorceress, who has high survivability in her own, in her own right,
Mm-hmm.
but then also has really high damage,
Yep.
she was able to make up for, I think, for the lack of damage on his warrior. But once again, I don't know if he would have the same opinion
Well,
of the warrior if he had to do it solo.
and I mean the same thing with whenever you were playing warrior and I was playing witch. I mean, if you have a somebody who can play warrior and just run armor and like armor break,
Right.
then you pair him with like somebody that does like physical damage, whether that's a witch that has physical bone spells or whatever, and you can tear through enemies. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's just solo. It's just they're gonna have to do something because it just feels unfair whenever you play the warrior. Like
Yeah.
it's not a fun experience, and some people are gonna disagree with that, and that's fine. But like, play a solo warrior and tell me through Act 1 that you actually had fun, because I don't believe you. I have a hard time believing that because it's just so rough, so rough.
And honestly, I think that a lot of people would agree with that. I think that there's a similar sentiment to Monk as well, going through no
Oh yeah.
gear or anything like that and just trying to deal with it. But I think more than anything, what I'm kind of realizing having this discussion is maybe it's just the melee classes in general.
I believe
A
it
lot of
is.
people are a lot of people are talking about the huntress as well, how she feels slow and difficult to gear, and a lot of issues behind her kit
So
too.
so with the huntress, I agree with some of that sentiment. But I mean, I built my huntress to be ranged, and like with the twister and tornadoes and stuff like that, I get excellent damage, and I usually use that for like armored enemies to stun them, and then for anything else, it's usually just lightning spear, because lightning spear chains, and I obviously have an affinity towards lightning in this game for some reason. It's just it's so nice. It's so cool. But I do agree with you that I think it's just melee classes in general have a very hard time. And
Well, I mean, especially like we're not even talking the Trials of the Sekimas,
oh
which
no.
is, I mean, in its own right,
Well,
is very difficult
and
for the
here's
melee
the
class.
thing though, is that I don't know if you have, but I personally haven't played the trials since the update. So with
I haven't.
how it feels like with some of these monsters, like I'm wondering how much harder the trials are going to feel. You know what I mean? Like because in the trials especially, I mean, you mess up one time and that can completely just tank your whole run. You know, you could be
It's
having a
true.
great run and then at the end you're just nope, that's it. You're done. You have 50 honor left and you still have 3 stages to go through before you actually get to the boss, and kiss my ass, you're not making it.
Yeah, and you look at the rooms ahead of you, and it's gauntlet, and ritual, or something like that.
Yeah. Which
You might as well just
ritual
turn around and go back out.
Which I mean,
Rituals are
ritual is
fine, but
fine, but they can still also be very
they're not my
catastrophic.
favorite.
No, no, I'd rather do like a chalice or hourglass
Hourglass.
or escape. Like those
Yeah,
three,
escape for sure.
you give
Escape's
me
probably my favorite.
you give me one of those three, then I'm good. And honestly, after that, then it would probably be ritual, just because, I mean, especially if you're running with a group, you can bust through a ritual in no time at all. But like I said, if you don't take care of it quick enough, it can become very dangerous very quick.
Well, and there are some rituals that are just you get in there and it's like, oh, it's one of these. You've got like 6
Yeah,
portals to
yeah.
shut down or
See,
whatever, and it just takes so long.
and that's the thing, is that it's kind of an RNG type thing on that, because I mean, you could get the one with the 3 right in front of you, or you could have one with 5 spread out over the map, and that's the one where it's like, ugh, this is a slog.
Yeah. Yeah, so and that's the thing is once again, like the rituals I would take over a gauntlet, but they're probably my least favorite of the non-gauntlet ones.
And I will say, I'm there. I mean, there's times where we have chosen. Hold on. I will say that there are times where we have chosen to do rituals over something like an hourglass for whatever reason, whether it be because of a boon that you could get or honor, or sometimes it's just that it's the better option out of all the debuffs that you could get. I mean,
Yeah.
and for me, I would say almost any debuff is worth taking taking over a gauntlet. And the only reason I say that is because, so like, unless it's something like absolutely tanking your attack damage, tanking one of the people that you're running with or yourself's armor of whatever kind,
Defenses.
evasion or energy shield or armor.
Right.
Bar those 4, really, I would rather take anything over a gauntlet, just for the simple fact of, if you aren't good at gauntlets and you aren't good at timing, you're not going to make it through it. And if you do make it through it, you are going to be worse off than what you were before. And it's just not worth it to me.
Yeah, the gauntlets used to be like, I don't know, it was weird. Whenever me and I first started going through these, we kind of liked the gauntlets a little better than the rituals, because every single time for the first 4 or 5 runs, we got one of like the 5 or 6 portal rooms, and it was just like, man, screw this! I want to do anything but this.
See, and I've had
and
more
you can
3
go through
portals.
the gauntlets and don't have to worry too much about the enemies, because once you get the doors open, you just run through.
Yeah.
So we kind of liked the gauntlets better until we realized we're like, oh wait, we just had really bad luck on these
challenge on these gauntlets.
the rituals.
Yeah.
The rituals.
Let's see, and for me, like, my experience is that normally I have the 3-room portals. Like, that's what I usually average. And, there's days where I get nothing but the 5s, which suck. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of just is what it is. The RNG makes me I would rather choose one of the other 3 first. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll take a ritual over a gauntlet 100% of the time.
Because you've got like right here, right? You've got the hourglass and escape. I kind of put them both together because they're
They're quick,
actually no,
they're
escape's
easy.
probably the best.
Yeah,
Then you've
escape
got the
is
hourglass
one.
here, real close, and then scrolling the screen. Okay. Then you've got the what is it? The chalice, right? Because you still got to beat the bosses, and there's a chance you take a lot of honor damage in there.
Yeah.
And then below the chalice is about here. You've got the gauntlets, right? And then you go and you scroll.
Yep.
You get more and more. Way at the bottom, you've got the rituals. Or no. Oh god, I mixed them up.
And the
The
rituals are up
rituals,
top.
and then
Gauntlets. Yeah.
scroll down. Way at the bottom is the gauntlets.
Yeah. 100%. I will 100% agree with that. All right. So my question to you about this subject is: do you think the reviews are warranted? Do you think that the general consensus is, um, in your opinion, do
No,
you agree
honestly,
with it or
dude,
not?
having played at least a few times since the update has come out, I mean, multiple times with people, multiple times solo. I noticed it. You know, I did. I noticed it. It did feel like things were taking a bit longer, but I noticed it more in multiplayer, funnily enough. But then on top of that, like, I mean, oh man, it would not change my opinion at all. Like, I didn't just go, oh, this is horrible. I'm turning this off until until they change this. You know, it
Yeah.
was just something that's like, oh, I'll play a little differently. I'll be a little more careful.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
We'll see.
I don't know.
And for me, like, you know that I recently switched from PS5 to PC for a path,
Right.
and I just thought, honestly, I really thought that it was just me with, that learning curve of switching from controller, from playing that for a couple months, moving to PC, and the movement on PC is just better. I mean, it just is. You have so much more controllability. But I just thought that that's what it was, and I was like, I just got to get used to it. And I did start playing a different way, and it does work. And do I still die? Yes, but I mean, if it works, it works. I mean,
Yeah.
and the thing is, for the people that are complaining about, oh, my favorite meta build got nerfed. Okay, that's cool. But you got to realize that.
They gave you a free respec.
Well, here's the thing: is that this is one of those games that's going to constantly change. Like, especially with them adding new classes, especially with them adding new skill gems, support gems, all that stuff. There has to be a balance, and like, you cannot have one class that is the absolute best. Otherwise, why wouldn't everybody just play it? I mean, every class has to have some kind of downfall. Every class should have some kind of, oh, well, this class is better at that. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, your build might have gotten nerfed. Does that suck? Yeah. But if you're complaining about your build and you want to play the meta, there's going to be another one, so go find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and once again, they gave you a free respec on top of, like, it's early access. We knew that the stuff that people figured out early and broke wide open early, like, that's why we're in early access. I mean, that's why we're playing it.
Well,
it's to where that way they can adjust things to where no single build is like, oh man, you're kneecapping yourself if you're not playing this way.
Here is one thing that I will say that I am extremely happy with this update is the amount of orb drops that you get now. I have gotten so many.
It does seem like more.
There definitely is. Like, whenever they said that they changed the economy, I think that's what they meant. They're making it to where they're less rare, and they drop more. I've gotten so many exalteds playing solo. I mean, I think in Act 1 I've already gotten like 5 or 6, whereas in the previous, before the update, I got maybe 1 in all of Act 1. Like, that's insane. And it's happened on more than just one character, this isn't all just in one day. This is like spread out through multiple days that I've gotten these dropped. And it's like, they're just more frequent. They just are. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% positive. I would have to go in and look. But I'm pretty sure I had a Divine Orb drop too, which I've never had one. But I'm pretty sure that I had one drop.
Yeah, that's all like pretty far end game stuff as far as I'm concerned. Like,
yeah.
Any of the like chance orbs or like the really rare ones, the really anything. I'm just holding off until I've got kind of a plateau and I really need to change out my equipment and it's later game to where it's harder and harder to get the equipment that's your level and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I don't feel like the negative reviews are warranted.
No, I don't either.
I feel like it's a get good situation, you know.
No, there's just honestly, there's this phenomenon, or maybe it's not a phenomenon. It is in my mind, but where people, whenever they see, oh man, other people think that this is a slog, then they'll go in and they'll expect it to be that. And when it is, then oh, yep, they were right. Oh, this is crappy. But if it's something that it's like things have changed from what they're used to, it might also then in their mind, oh, yep, this is the slog they're talking about, and then they go in and they hit it with a negative review themselves, you know?
Well, and to further that point is, before the patch, it had 80+% positive reviews. Now it's in the teens. What doesn't help that is whenever you have a player that's used to playing like Diablo 4, Diablo 3, something like that. I mean, that's the closest game that you're the most popular closest game that you're going to find to this game, right? And so then you have a player that decides, okay, well, I'll play this coming from Diablo. And then they see all these negative reviews like, oh, this is a slog, blah, blah, blah. And with Diablo, it's very much so one of those games. You pick up the character is strong, and it pretty much stays strong throughout the whole fucking game. Path of Exiles, this is something I struggled with. There's growing pains with every single character. Every character struggles somewhere, unless you're a warrior. Then you struggle constantly. Monk too. We'll throw Monk in there. Fuck it. Huntress has some problems, but not nearly as bad as the Monk or Warrior.
Well, see, and I just don't have as much time in Huntress to be able to make that claim myself. So
Well,
once again, I'm just taking other people's words for it, at least in the Huntress's case.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels like people are. It feels like, I don't know. I just think that people wanted something different from the update, and they didn't quite get what they wanted. But I mean, at the end of the day, the way that I look at it is there's no reason to bomb the ratings. Whenever, yes, you paid money for this game, you paid $30 for it. But this is early access. Like, you don't have access to all the content. Like, they're going to constantly be changing things. There's going to be updates you don't like. There's going to be things added that you don't like. There's going to be updates that you love. There's going to be content added that you love. There's going to be changes that you love. It's a give and take type thing. And they have to do what they can to balance the game to make it work for everybody, not just you.
I mean, and once again, playing devil's advocate here for the community itself, but there's not much better way to make an impression on the people developing the game that you enjoy playing that they need to change some stuff than, going from 82% to 18% positive reviews.
Yep.
Over the course of the week that this patch has been out. So if it persists, or if people are like, oh, I'm done forever, and like that kind of stuff, yeah, that's inexcusable. But the people who are on there leaving legitimately good faith, reviews and or negative reviews or whatever, but speaking their mind and explaining what they had as a problem, that's great. I mean, that's the system working in my eyes.
You are 100% right. I do agree with that, but if you're going in there because you're unhappy about your character getting nerfed,
or like a YouTuber told you or something.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, my meta Gimling Legionnaire is now just a paperweight. I'm unhappy, so I'm going to give you negative rating. Like, that's trash. Don't be doing that.
Yeah. I mean, and once again, the ratings can be changed. So hopefully
for sure.
Things will change if they can amend some issues.
If you don't have anything else for this topic, that's kind of a good segue into what I want to talk about.
Okay.
So I purchased Schedule 1 last night. And I've been thinking about it if I wanted to or not, and I finally gave in and did. And I'm going to tell you what, that game completely fucking took over 8 hours of my life last night. Like, I had to work this morning, and I had to get up at 7. I looked down at the clock last night, and it was 3 o'clock, and I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Oh, shit.
Where did time go? Like, it is so addicting. It's such a simple game, but it is so addicting. Now, that's not necessarily what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is Drug Dealer Simulator. The people who made it
I've seen
are
an article about
are
this, the lawsuit.
investigating. Well, so they're not. There's not a lawsuit yet. They are investigating Schedule One for copyright infringement. Now, here's the problem that the community has and that I have with it. Schedule 1 is not the first game to do this. They're not the first one to make another drug simulation game. They're not the first one to where you package and distribute drugs and then you go out on the streets and you sell them. They're not the first ones to do that. And they haven't given any specifics as to why they're investigating what their copyright is. They're not saying anything. It got so bad, and everybody thought that there was a lawsuit because that's what online tabloids had said. However, then they came out and they're like, oh, no, 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 there's no lawsuit against the developer. There's no lawsuit on the game for copyright infringement. We're just investigating because we have to be able to protect our copyright license. Okay, fine. Why didn't you do that for all the other ones that were copyright infringement? Why didn't you check on them? That doesn't make sense.
I'm just kind of curious, like how they can copyright an entire genre of game.
That's what people aren't understanding. We don't understand what the copyright is because they're not saying what the copyright is. What part of the game do you have a copyright on? What mechanic of the game do you have a copyright on that Schedule 1 uses that all these other games don't? On top of that, so the community is so upset with the developers of Drug Dealer Simulator that they have gone in and absolutely tanked their Steam reviews. Absolutely bombed the shit out of them.
So it better be people that already had it, because if they think that going in and buying the game to bomb the reviews is hurting these people, I don't want to know what else they think.
I don't know. I haven't gone through and read them yet. I just seen it. I went through and I saw the little link, and then I went into Steam and I was like, holy shit, they did. Here's my opinion on what I think's going on. I don't think that Schedule 1 necessarily is doing anything that could be copyrighted. I think that Drug Dealer Simulator, I think that the creators of it, the developers, are upset because they have a very similar game that didn't get the attention that Schedule 1 has.
Right, yeah.
Because, I mean, you think about it.
Before this.
Yeah, you think about it, you have streamers like Queso, who on average, I've seen him streaming every week, or I'd say at least 3 out of 7 days a week, and he's averaging 65,000 people every stream that he's playing that, and he streams it for 5-6 hours. So there's 65,000 people that are constantly watching him. You have Moist Critical, who's constantly averaging at least 15,000 people whenever he's playing Schedule 1. You have, I think Jinxie's even played it, and Jinxie averages 20 to 35,000 every stream. You have all these massive streamers, and you have all these massive YouTube channels that are playing it, because honestly, it goes back to kind of like Minecraft and Terraria. It's like people bring up graphics and stuff. It's not about the graphics, it's just the mechanics are fun. The game itself is just fun. It's one of those time sync games that you can kind of zone out and do whatever. Right. And it's fun. It doesn't have this big, massive, intricate story. It's just fun, and that's all it is. And honestly, I was playing it before we started recording, and I absolutely love it. I truly do. But let me see here.
The thing is it's like everything that I'm aware of about it, I know it's probably a lot deeper and more intricate than what I'm thinking of, but it reminds me of way back in the day on Newgrounds, there was this game, the Stick RPG or Stickman RPG or something like that. And it may not have been exactly that, but it was something along those lines. But it was basically where you would go and it was that, it was Schedule 1, just stick people and dialed back, of course, not feature feature matched or whatever. But you basically did the same thing. You would start out as this lowly person, this lowly peon, or not even just your own person, and then you kind of work your way up and build up an empire of till you're a drug kingpin and kind of stuff. And so I just once again I can't imagine somebody thinking that a game genre and style and stuff like that as old as Newgrounds. These Flash games back in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Like how they could think that they get jurisdiction on the patrol for a copyright. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, that's kind of insane. And I mean, so like, and this happens all the time now. Like, you used to never hear about lawsuits between game developers for copyright infringement, but well, I mean, other than this, one of the biggest ones of recent memory is obviously the Power World versus Pokemon.
And Nintendo, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I
and
guess Pokemon specifically.
yeah, and I mean, to be honest, the reason why Pal World was so successful is because it was essentially Pokemon, but different. And people have been, yeah, I mean, people have been asking for something different from Pokemon for so long. And I mean, for the most part, so I don't know, Sword and Shield's a little bit different. Scarlet and Violet, they had an open world, and you can pretty much do it in whatever order you want. So that's cool. But before that, I mean, it was pretty much copy and paste, generic story every time, like almost 1-to-1. Like, you change the story, you change the Pokemon, you change the bad guys, you change the main character, boom, you got a Pokemon game. And
yeah, well, and once again, I mean, it's their kind of thing. But part of the problem, part of why we saw Pokemon doing that and getting so stale, is because there wasn't competition.
yeah,
Back in the day, I mean, you had like Digimon and to a lesser extent like Monster Rancher and things of that nature. But there's never really been, aside from Digimon, I guess that was back in the early days. But and it was kind of over pretty quick. By the time Pokemon Sapphire, Ruby and Sapphire came out, Digimon was on the way out, kind of. And since then, there hasn't been a competitor for Pokemon, and so they've gotten lax and
lazy.
Yeah, it's stale.
Yeah, because they know that they can put out whatever generic gray blob that they want to, and they're going to have a massive consumer base that's going to buy it.
Yeah, if you want to play a Pokemon game, or if you want to play a game in general that has the Pokemon, creature catching mechanic, then you don't have many options. There's like Ni no Kuni, I know, is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a huge fan of it, but once again, other people were. But even that wasn't really in the same vein as Pokemon. It was more RPG-esque, less Pokemon-esque.
I mean, and in that vein, you could talk about the Persona series. A lot of people bring up comparisons between Pokemon and Persona. But Persona is very much so a story-driven game. Like, there is a lot of reading and a lot of sitting there doing nothing before you actually get into the meat of the game, and that turns a lot of people off. Which, I mean, I get. If you're not looking for that, I get it. But in my opinion, Persona is obviously story-wise, it's better than Pokemon will ever be. But gameplay wise, I mean, if you're talking about like repetitive game loop, I'd say it's probably Pokemon for me, because it's a lot easier to understand, obviously, because it's made mainly for kids. But I don't know how I'm trying to explain this. Well, the Pokemon game, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get Pokemon. Whereas with one of these other ones that aren't necessarily a competitor, but take some of the nuance from Pokemon and put it in their game, they try something different. And for some of them it works, and for some of them it doesn't. But you end up with these niche communities of people who are like, oh no, this is far better than Pokemon. And
well, I mean, and to them it probably is. You know, I mean, everybody's going to have different tastes, and I kind of hopped on the Pokemon train as a young kid, and it was one of those that somewhere around Black and White, I remember I jumped off the Pokemon train, and then I got a Switch, and then I saw there was Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and I was like, oh, I'll play that. Give it a try. And it was like, yeah, this game's fun. I like it. And I was thinking like, yeah, Pokemon really fixed a lot of stuff. It's like shinies in the overworld and like the Pokemon themselves being visible in the overworld. I always thought that was a cool little thing. And then you got the Pokemon mounts you could ride. And it was like, yeah, this is great. This is a nice evolution for the series. And so I was kind of back on. I went back and I played the prior games, Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun. And then I played oh God, what was it? Y? Was Y
Yeah.
the one with the
Yveltal, the
red
destroyer.
the red one?
Yep.
Yeah, Evolto, yeah. Yeah, okay. So I played Y, and then I played Black 2 too. I ended up going back and playing Black 2. But anyway, and enjoyed them in retrospect because once again I was sailing the high seas. I didn't have a 3DS or anything to play it, so I had been
Yarhar.
right making my you know setting things up myself.
Yeah, we'll
We'll
put it
just say.
that way.
And so anyway, enjoyed it because I had no investment in it, and so it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is a great game to play with for free.
Yeah. So I mean,
But if I were to have bought a 3DS or even a 2DS, and bought these games and spent the money and blah blah blah, I may have a completely different opinion on it because once Sword and Shield came out, I got Shield thinking that it was going to carry on from the Let's Go Pikachu direction where it was a lot more open and you had a lot more options to deal with and a lot of the things that people had been suggesting for all this time. Two players on the same system. Oh my God, that's so difficult.
oh
Like
wow,
that kind
multiplayer
of stuff.
coming to Nintendo? What?
Right. And so it was one of those that's like, why aren't these things in the mainline series? Whenever I go and I play Shield and I'm sitting there just like, this feels closer to Sun and Moon than it does to Let's Go Pikachu. It's like, and then come to find out, of course, it was actually different teams who did it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's I love the Pokemon series. I've played it since I was a kid. I've played every game.
Yeah, but I think we can all admit that it has its flaws.
It's never going to change that I will always play it, but it has so many flaws, and it has, I mean, like I said, it's just a repetitive game that, I mean, you do the same thing over and over and over, and there's not really much change in it. Now, mind you, like, the Legends series, or Legends Arceus, was a massive change, and I absolutely fell in love with that game. I still love that game.
Yeah.
I still play it. And I don't know how I feel about everything that I've seen from ZA.
I'm more excited about ZA than I am than I was about Arceus because I know, or Arceus, oh, it's the Arc phone, but because I saw Arceus and saw that they were willing to go in this dramatically different direction than the mainline games, the sneaking around and the aiming your Pokeball throw and all that stuff and playing a lot more like a game instead of just like a translation of the 2D Pokemon games into a 3D medium.
Right.
And so because of that, I'm really excited for ZA because I'm also seeing a lot of the new features that they've added in that they're not necessarily, stating yet, but you can see it in the gameplay, like moving around in the middle of a battle.
I did see that.
And it's like that's what people have been asking for.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the thing that right now is kind of turning me off of it is it's another modern game. And I really enjoyed the back in time history of what region was? Is that the Hoenn region? No. Sinnoh. Yeah, Sinnoh. Well, Hoenn's Gen 3. I don't know why I thought that. But I really enjoyed that. And I don't know. I kind of wish that it was in the past again. Because you think about, like, you said you played it. Why? So you know that there's a lot, and I mean a lot, that game has to do with history. With Yveltal and the Floette and all of that, and the destruction of the world, all that stuff. You could have made
the subway battles.
Yes, you could have made an amazing fucking Legends game out of that and done it in a previous time period, and that would have been so cool. So cool.
I think the thing that they're trying to do though is to keep their options open with their, Legends moniker. Because if they went and did 2 games in a row give me just a second.
So I don't remember what we were saying.
It was Pokemon X and Y.
Oh yeah, Pokemon Y. You're talking about how you think they're trying to keep their Legend series open.
Right. I think they're trying to keep it open as like stories within the Pokemon universe, as opposed to just being like, history of, or like back in time of different regions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that. I just feel like with the history, like since that game was based around the history and you got to see so much of the history just from playing it, I feel like it would have been cool to actually be there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like having some part in that would have been awesome. And that would have been the perfect one to do it because you literally have essentially a world destroying Pokemon. And I don't know what Xerneas's is because I didn't play X. I didn't look into
Funny,
X's
we both
lore.
played Y.
Yeah, well, I
I
mean,
think it's basically the same thing. It's like how Palkia and Dialga are like kind of two halves of the space time coin.
yeah, 100%. But I just, oh my god, this fly won't go away. But I just feel like it would have, like for me, that would have been awesome. I mean, I'm still gonna play it. I'm still excited for it. It's just I'm not as excited as I probably should be or could be, because it's not what I was thinking it was gonna be, and I know that it's not what a lot of people thought it was gonna be. I know a lot of people thought that
It was going to be
it was gonna be in the
Legends
past.
Arceus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to be honest, I kind of thought it was too. But whenever I saw that it wasn't, I wasn't dismayed.
Well,
But
and
once again, I can understand other people's perspectives on it as well.
And here's the thing is that like I'm not going to say that it's going to be bad. I'm going to give it a chance because Legends Arceus, I wasn't for sure about it. You know, I was like, "Oh man, this is going really off track for Pokemon." But in my opinion, they hit a home run with it. They did an amazing job on the game. I absolutely loved it. And I'm excited to see what they do with this one in a modern game because this one I feel like is going to be kind of a tester for games going forward for them. Like Arceus was too. I think Arceus was a test for the open world, whereas I feel like this one is going to be more of a test for like mechanically what they can do in future
In
games.
battles and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like that's what it's going to be. And I feel like that's kind of what they do, or what they're going to do with Legends, is that it's going to be used almost as like a mechanic tester, you know? I mean, and I'm fine with that because if that's what they choose to do, you know, people have been asking for Pokemon to do different things. That's what we were just talking about. Then I'm okay with that. Even if the game is a grade A stinker, I mean, if you're trying something new on a game series that's 25 plus years old.
Well, in a game series that's constantly accused of being stale and copycat
Then I mean, even if the game sucks, like you can't be mad at them because they're doing exactly what you want them to do. They're doing something new. They're trying new things. It's not the same copy and paste.
I fully understand the spirit of your argument, but there are things to be said. They're like, oh yeah, hey, we're trying new things like monetization. Here, buy a second
different.
starter.
That's
I'd be like,
different.
yeah, you could go shit and fall back in it, man.
Yeah, you can kiss my ass on that one. But I mean, like actual gameplay wise and mechanically wise, you know, trying new things, story wise or whatever it is, I appreciate that. At the very least, bare minimum, I appreciate that. And I will support that. Even if I'm not a fan of the game, if you tried something new, even if it's not for me, I still appreciate the effort, you know? That was off.
No, I fully agree.
That was off topic. That was completely off topic, but that's okay. It's the fun of it.
It's all still in line.
Yeah. Did you have another topic?
Yeah, I got a couple little questions here. This is a nice little buffer one.
Yeah.
Okay. So what, in your opinion, and once again, I know it kind of depends on the game, but just in general, we'll say, what is the ideal amount of players for a co-op game, for like a mutual sort of like a PvE, we'll say? So like for example, Destiny had 3 for the fire team and 6 for a raid. And then you have Path of Exile, right? I think it's up to 6 as well, but it might be 8. And so you've got varying ranges, and then you've got like 2-player co-op games. And you've got like your 4-player games, like any sort of split screen local, like Borderlands, for example. That's the 4-player max.
So I'm gonna say that if you're looking for a top-down ARG, I'm thinking 4 players is probably a good max for that. I feel like anything over 4 is you're gonna number one run into the problem of, are other players playing something that falls in line with your weapon, armor, or whatever?
Right.
Because then
Are
you're
you
going to
guys
be
going to be fighting
arguing.
over loot?
Right. You're going to be arguing over that, and that causes dismay. If you're talking about like looter shooters like Borderlands, I feel like also 4 is good there. Whenever you get into multiplayer FPS, I mean, honestly, with that, depending on map size, the sky's the limit. I mean, as long as you have a big enough map to support that as many people as you're wanting to play, then I support. You could have a 500 v 500 as long as the map's big enough. You could have a whole ass war, and I would support that. I'd be okay with that. So I really feel like it kind of just depends. But if we're talking about like static genres like ARPGs, I feel like 4's a good limit there. Borderlands 4. I don't know. I feel like 4 is the sweet spot for a lot of things. And that gives you a good amount of people that you can play with too. You know, and you know, like PoE scales with the amount of players that you have. So the difficulty, the health, the damage. Oh, I don't know if damage does, but definitely boss health and stuff like that scales. And like we've struggled with what 5 people playing to kill a boss. I mean, like it's taken us usually a boss that solo would take you 30 seconds to a minute takes 5 to 10 minutes sometimes, depending on how much health they have and how much damage you're dealing. So I feel like 4 is the max for that. I just feel like that's a good spot. What about you?
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm kind of right there. I would say once again, it really depends on the game. But I think that even in like a massively multiplayer game or something, your max squad size. So like in Battlefield, for example, the people that you're chatting with on the comms and that you're bringing from game to game with you, I would say that should probably be 4.
For
because
sure.
Anymore,
for that.
and then you start getting like team stacking and shit like
Well,
that.
I mean,
and any less, and you feel like there's more people that could be in there. You're just leaving it on the table.
So I think 4 is for like a for like Battlefield and stuff like that. I think 4 is a good squad size, but I don't really think that you would be hurting if you had 6 either. I feel like 4 to 6 on a squad size is probably pretty good, especially if, you know, like Battlefield right now, I'm pretty sure they have 124 v 124. So you know you're stacking or 6 squad mates or 6 in a squad, and that's really nothing, you know, because I mean with how big it is and how many people you have playing, yeah, you're gonna have squad stacking, but at the same time the other team is too, so it's not really a disadvantage necessarily. I wouldn't say.
Well, no, I get that. And once again, I think the main problem at that point is having your comms, your communication. Like,
Yeah, it does get gummed
dude,
up.
whenever we would do the raids back in Destiny 2 and stuff,
Yeah, that's true.
it was genuinely hard to communicate and get the information across that you needed to do
very
to the right
frustrating.
person.
Yeah, it was very easy to get frustrated as well. Yeah, I will give you that for sure. So I would agree with that. Yeah. So I'd say 4. Like I said, 4 to 6, but close. I mean, if I had to choose, I would choose 4. But if you put it to 6, I wouldn't necessarily be mad about it. Especially and it's different for Destiny too, because Destiny, like on the raids, you have to communicate. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Whereas with Battlefield, you know, if you get a squad of people that are just like, "Hey, I'm just here to chill," you don't really have to communicate stuff. You're like, "Hey, I just got mowed down in this building. All right, cool. I won't go near it." Whatever, you know?
Yeah,
and if you hear me, you hear me. If you don't, well, you're going to respawn here in a minute anyway, so it's not...
Heading to B.
Yeah. Whereas in Destiny with those raids, you could be almost to the end, and one slip up, one miscommunication starts you all over, and that could be another 2 hours before you're back to that point that you just were, and that's very frustrating.
I know, and it's like, oh man, what was it? Callus, the Leviathan raid.
Yeah,
that was the one I think we spent the most time doing.
Well, it was the dogs.
It's like in that raid. Yeah, exactly. Or the going through. You got to have the stompies. You got to have the hunter with the stompies on to go and jump through the little gauntlet and stuff, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and stuff like that you have to then yell out, oh man, what's the sign, the hornet, or the it's the skull, or whatever kind of the signs. There
Yep.
was one that was like chalice and things like that.
Meanwhile, you have your
You have to
people
like
that are
yell
taking
those
out
out.
dogs that are like, I need help, I need help.
Right,
It's like,
right.
shut the fuck up.
And once again, I mean, it's if you have the proper if you have the proper setup, like you've got like people who know ahead of time which phase that they're going to be running, and you listen to that guy then, and
Mm-hmm.
you've done it enough times, it starts to make a lot more sense. I mean, like the people that are doing the world's first raids and stuff like that, they've got absolute like top-notch communication.
For sure.
I mean, there's no miscommunications really at all. Whenever they wipe, it's because of a lack of knowledge or lack of experience with the things like
Yeah.
that. It is not because they're not communicating. Like look at like League of Legends esports players and stuff like that. The big teams and stuff. That's
Yep.
5 people, and they're communicating. I mean, absolutely perfectly. And I know in that case they have like the mid laner, which is kind of like the impromptu, leader of sorts.
Yeah.
But even then, it's they've got top notch, top quality communication, and so I think that there's a gradient, I'll say, that goes all the way from 5 randoms, literally just match made together. 3 of them have a mic, 2 of them are listening to the people with the mic. 2 of the people with the mic are fighting. And it's like there's just no communication. There's no useful information to be had there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's like on one end of the scale, and then on the far other end, you've got professional esports players and people doing the world's first raids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so in there, depending on where you find yourself on that gradient, I would say depends on what the max amount of players you could play with in a team could be before you really start to have that breakdown in communication.
Yeah. 100%. That was a good question.
So the answer, I would think, is from both of our opinions would be 4, but once again, I think that it's kind of up for
Generally,
interpretation
yeah.
based on the game.
Generally 4, depending on game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. All right. Do you have something else, or do you want me to go ahead with my other ones?
I mean, I've
Well,
got a couple others too. How many other topics do you have?
I have 2 more. One of them's small, and then, like I said, one of them's big.
Okay, I got another big one, another small one, and they both kind of link together. So go ahead and do one of yours, and then we'll do my 2, and then we'll finish off on the one you wanted to finish with.
Okay. So this one is, I found this cool, and I know that it's not going to happen because he doesn't have the rights for it. But GZ just introduced Sirius Studios, and the producer for Bloodborne is going to be their lead producer, which really
Producer or director?
producer.
Okay.
Which I don't know how to feel about that. I read a lot of the comments from people that had read the article, and it was like, oh, this means we're going to have Bloodborne too. And it's like, you're not, because that's a Sony product. Sony owns that. You're not. You might have something that has Bloodborne influence. But at the same time, what people aren't realizing is that this is not a developer. This is a producer. And there's a big difference between the two.
Okay, the parent company of From Software is Kadokawa, but I don't know producer or anything like that who produced Bloodborne. I thought that was Sony, right? No, they published it.
Yeah, that's the publisher.
Right. So I'm not sure.
Said his name, and I remember. I don't remember his name. I had it written down, and then I don't know where it went. Wrote down. Where is it at? Developer. It's just something that I kind of thought was interesting. Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Yeah. That's the that was the director for Bloodborne.
Oh, is it the director? That said producer.
Yeah, it's Michael Zaki. That's the one that everybody's. He's created the Dark Souls series basically from nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, that's him. So he's going to work with a new studio. Um, so
Is he
I'm
like in addition to still like working with FromSoft? Because I know he was like one of the top head honchos at FromSoft.
I'm not for sure. It didn't say anything about that. It just says game developer GZ established a serious studio with Bloodborne director. Let's see. Trying to read this real quick. Oh no, it's not him. See, this is ugh. It is the producer. It's Teruyuki Toriyama. So he was the producer for like the Demon Souls remake, the Bloodborne game producer. Um,
Yeah, Bloodborne and Demon Souls producer.
so he was the
Okay, I
company.
got
He was the company director, CPO, and general producer. Let's see.
I mean, there's not too much creative,
No,
you know,
and that's what I was saying.
liberties from that role.
That's what I was saying. Like people are getting excited about it, and I don't understand why you would get excited about a producer necessarily because they're not. Like I said, there's a huge difference between a producer and a developer. Two completely different
Yeah.
things.
I mean, like some of the furthest you can get between job roles in this world.
Yeah, and so like people are like throwing a fit about this, like, oh, Bloodborne 2. No, you're not gonna get Bloodborne 2 because, like I said, that's a Sony IP, and Sony's already said no. Like, they're not doing it. So, which is horseshit, by the way. Let me just go ahead and.
For high end console games. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, just a little tidbit that I saw, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But
Little fun fact.
yeah. All right, let's go on to your two topics, and then I'll end it with my bigger one.
Okay, so over this last week, I was doing something, and I ended up stumbling across an article which linked to this VG charts talking about the current console sales. And to be completely honest, the PS5, Xbox Series X, that whole generation, I haven't really been paying any attention to. I don't have any of them, honestly. But even if I were to have one, it would probably be a PS5. But at that point, though, I still wouldn't really be paying attention to the sales and stuff like that. Back on like the PS2, Xbox, GameCube, that generation, and then like even the PS4, Xbox Series, no, Xbox One, right? And then like even the Wii U, that generation, I kind of paid attention to the sales, and there for a while it was kind of a bit of a nail biter, between the original Xbox One and the PS4. But then the PS4 kind of got to a lead and then became the fifth best selling console of all time.
Yeah, it kind of
So
just beat the shit out of Xbox after a while.
yeah, after a while there was no contest, and I think around that point I just stopped paying attention. I was like, okay, yeah, Sony won.
Sony won. Period.
They're the victors, and then Nintendo's off playing in the playground,
Yeah,
so,
just like, woohoo, look at me.
right, and so I just kind of stopped paying attention, but didn't really occur to me that I hadn't noticed or seen or really paid much attention to the sales comparisons between PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Mm-hmm.
So upon seeing this article, I saw the number and was just like, "There's just no way. There's got to be something. Like there's got to be there's got to be a mistake here." So I go and I verify it from a separate place, and no, it's true. PlayStation 5 is outselling Xbox Series X like 2.5 to 1.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, 100%. PlayStation 5, without a shadow of a doubt, is a better system than the Xbox Series X. Like I will stand by that until I die.
The thing is hardware wise, the Xbox Series X is just more powerful than the base model PS5.
Well,
and that's irrefutable. But at the same time, the PS5 is better, more powerful than the Xbox Series S. And so there's a bit of a gradient, but as far as it goes, I mean, it shouldn't be, on paper at least, it shouldn't be this clear cut of the PS5 just way out and above outsells the Xbox Series X.
I'll tell you why here in just a second. Let's see.
I mean, it's the games.
Tell me what exclusives. Tell me what good exclusives Xbox
Okay,
Series
see
X
there.
has. Good
Yeah,
exclusives.
that's the word that all the weight hangs on right there. That's the
That
word
is
to pay attention
exactly
to.
what it is. It's and that's the thing. And Xbox is almost to the point now where they just don't care, because this is the second console in a row that Sony has beat them, whether it be
Yeah.
because of console or because of games. It doesn't matter. And now it's like Sony's just like, yeah, I don't care. Like, did you see the interview a while back? I don't even remember what all it was, but it was essentially the producer of Xbox just being like, yeah, we're essentially just gonna release all of our games to Sony because they're kicking our ass and
We
we
still
need
make
money.
money.
We need money.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still make the money.
So like
And you know,
right
and that's the
now,
thing is, it's like
Gran Turismo 5 is on PS5.
that's because Gran Turismo is the
Or
Sony
not
property.
Gran Turismo. Forza Horizon 5 is on PS5
Oh,
right now.
okay, okay.
That is the first Xbox game to hit PlayStation.
Yeah, I guess I didn't
Xbox.
realize that.
Yep.
Because there's all like the ActiBliz, you know, the multi-platform games that Xbox bought the rights to that
Yep.
they're still selling on, you know, PS5 and stuff.
Yeah. But Forza Horizon Forza in general is the first Xbox game or Xbox exclusive to come to PlayStation.
Did
And
Starfield ever go to PlayStation?
I believe it did, yeah. I'm
It
pretty
did?
sure.
Okay,
I'm
because I
pretty
know
sure.
that the people were talking about it, and there was like, once again, this kind of was in part of my other point, but the Xbox fanboys, you know, I'll call them the fanboys, the people that are still part of the console wars, you know,
Ugh.
these fanboys were legitimately upset that this game, that Starfield was going
Oh,
to be getting ported to
okay.
PS5.
Okay. So Starfield and Forza Horizon 5 are the first to debut on PS5. So there you
Oh,
go.
okay.
So first two right there.
Yeah, and so then it's the beginning of the end of people having a reason to buy a fucking Xbox.
It legitimately is. And like whenever I heard that, every time somebody comes up to me at work and they're like, Xbox is better than PlayStation, I'm just like, that's funny.
I mean, you just be like, great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're one of the few people who bought one of these.
Yeah, you have fun with your giant
They
brick.
need all the help they can get, man.
Like, look, my console is tall and slim, but at least I ain't buying a cinder block. So have fun.
Yeah, and the fridge.
Because
It's the fridge.
yeah, it's like I don't like. There's no point arguing with you because you're just wrong. Like I hate to tell you that you're objectively wrong, but you just are. Because I'm about to be able to
But
play everything that you can play on my console. So
well, I saw this article the other day. Between this time and the last podcast, actually, that was talking about the. I think maybe once again the algorithm on Google. They realized that I'd clicked on this one article one time, and so they start feeding me more stuff like it. But they were talking about how the Xbox Series X is doing so poorly that Xbox, of all console manufacturers, isn't planning on doing a mid-gen refresh like the PS5 Pro, you know,
yeah,
like how they did
they
on the
did.
Xbox One X, you know.
They 100% did. They released the 2 terabyte console. It's the white one.
No. But there's, aside from storage and specials and stuff like that, I mean, there's no tangible difference. Whereas the PS5 Pro, for example,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a faster processor, I think more RAM
yeah.
and a few things
They
like that.
also fixed a lot of the problems that the original PlayStation had. I mean, they did that with the Slim, but they fixed a lot of the problems that the original
Right.
PlayStation had, and then the Slim had. So now you're at the end game with the PS5. So I mean, not only that, but I don't know if you've seen the PS5s. Like, they're still kind of bulky, but they look good. Like I like the way they look. They look sleek. They look nice, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, no,
I'm fine with that.
I'm well aware of the you know, the overall aesthetic of the PS5s and stuff. And the thing is, being off grid and everything like that, my main holdup for it is just the unbelievable amount of power it takes.
Yeah,
You know,
that is for sure.
I'd rather play a game, you know, 80% the quality of what the PS5 can push, but for a literal quarter the power usage.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And that's the thing, is that they are absolute power hogs. There is no question about that.
Well, one thing that kind of irks me about the PS5 generation is that with the PS3, no, the PS2, actually, starting with the no, maybe even the PS1, the more I'm thinking about it, every single one of their consoles, the more I'm thinking about it, has had a slim version, one that is dramatically smaller and takes way less power and is, just a much better version of their base model. The PS3 Slim, it's much smaller.
I don't
PS4 Slim,
think.
significantly smaller, and the PS4 Slim, I've got one up here right here, literally uses 5/8 to like 2/3 to 5/8 the power of the original PS4.
So
Right, I had one of the original boxes, bricks, and it was like 180 watts or something. This one here takes like 100 watts.
So I don't think that the PS1 had a Slim. PS2 definitely did. PS3 had 3 different variations, if you remember. They had
There was the base model that could do the backwards compatibility with the
there
PS2.
There was the Fat Boy, which is the one that could do the backwards compatibility. It's the first one that they released. Then there was the technically Slim, and then they came out with the one that had like the slide disc on top. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It was like the ultra slim that you like slid it over, and then you put the disc in, you slid it back over, which was trash. It was absolutely horrible. It came out, it was like $300. It was dog ass. I hated it. Looked like shit. Sounded like crap. I'm not a fan. I hate it. That's the worst Sony product I've ever seen in my life. And no, it's not. The PSP Go is. Ugh. That's
what's funny is the PSP Go was one of those that I really wanted to take off. Like I wanted that thing to be good.
I wanted the PlayStation Vita to take off the way that the Nintendo Switch did.
There's the Slim, by the way. PS1 Slim.
I don't have Discord pulled up over here. I'll look at it here in a minute. Oh, so there is a PS1 Slim. Okay.
Yeah, every single one of their generations has had a slim version of their consoles, except for the PS5. Even though they're calling it slim, it is actually, if anything, takes more power. I was looking at the specs, and it says that the range is actually slightly higher on the slim version because I guess it has to run the fan faster.
So the thing is that, yes, it does take more power, but it's like half the size of the original.
It's a lot smaller.
I have one. I'm looking at it right now, and this thing...
Yeah.
It's a unit, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that it's a lot smaller, and I like that, but I was really hoping that would also
have less power consumption,
significantly less power, and I was like, yeah, now I can get it and not feel so bad when I play it.
Yeah, 100%. I feel you there. But, ow, that hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been a Sony fanboy all my life. I've owned the original Xbox. I owned a 360. I've owned a Series S. I have one in my closet. I hate it, but I have it. And then I've owned a Series 1S, but I've never had an X, and I honestly probably won't buy one. I don't have a reason to.
No. If you have a PS5 and you have a decent computer, then you have absolutely no reason to buy
because
an
like
Xbox
even if all the fucking exclusives don't come to PlayStation, I have a computer that I can play them on, so it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Yeah. I can literally sign into Microsoft right here.
You can play on your computer with your friends who are on Xbox. So even then, there's no reason for you to buy an Xbox. If you even wanted to play with your friends, you can.
Yeah,
so 100%. Like, once again, this is one of those things that, like, I don't have a problem with. Like, I enjoy that Microsoft is being so open with their consoles, but I think that they should stop insulting their players and their purchasers by continuing to put out consoles. They should just have Xbox flavored PCs, which, funnily enough, sounds like that's what the next version is going to be.
Well,
they're going to have a modified Windows with an Xbox shell, but it's basically their next console, their next Xbox device will be a computer that has an Xbox shell.
So, from what I've heard, they're going to use it almost like a streaming service. And if that's true, then that's gonna kill it. Because look at the Stadia. Look at the
Oh,
Google Stadia. That bitch came out and died immediately. That bitch was DOA. And if
oh man, that would kill them.
it 100% would, but at this point, it's like Microsoft is just walking around looking for somebody to put them out of their misery. And like, okay, nobody else. Well, I guess I'm gonna shoot myself in the fucking face because I'm
Dude,
done.
Microsoft themselves, they're doing great. They're like one of the top 3 or 4 or something most profitable companies in goddamn existence. But the Xbox division within Microsoft makes the vast majority of its money on software sales. And
Yeah.
it's like Game Pass and stuff like that. And and all that, but it's not the Xbox.
So this is
Like
this
the majority
is
of their purchases come on other systems.
this is kind of off topic, but we'll blow through this real quick, then we can get to the our last little bit here. Um, the thing is, and this is what worries me, is that if Microsoft stops making consoles, if Microsoft stops being a competitor to Sony in any possible way, what's going to happen is you're going to have a company who has a monopoly on all games except for Nintendo games, who is not a competitor for PlayStation or Sony or Xbox, for the reason of you can only play Nintendo games on Nintendo, so they have their own market. They don't have to fight with anybody over game rights or anything like that, right?
Right.
So what happens is now you're going to have this absolute powerhouse for a console in the gaming industry who is going to be lazy. And they're going to do the same thing over and over, and they're going to put a higher price on it every single time because they're the only console out there that you're going to be able to play these games on unless you have a PC, and people are going to buy it. And that's kind of scares me.
That's kind of the issue that Intel was doing back in the 20 teens, was early 20 teens, 2012, 2015, through that whole gap in there. They didn't have any competition. They were the gaming processor. They were
They were the
best
powerhouses.
processors available.
Yeah.
And so then they started resting on the laurels. They started, what was it? 4th gen refresh and 6th gen refresh and all these things that are just reeked of anti-consumer nonsense. They're going to charge you for a new chip, but your chip's going to perform 5% better, 10% better, maybe, than your last chip.
Yeah.
And so because of AMD stepping up their game and really pushing in there for a budget chip and giving people an option that wasn't Intel, it forced Intel, into the position they're in now where they're rapidly losing market share. They're looking like they might be absorbed soon by like another bigger chip manufacturer and stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want that either, much for the same reasons that Intel got lazy. AMD will get lazy if they end up taking and completely eating out all the market share that Intel had.
Yep.
And so I want there to be healthy competition, obviously. And so once again, Microsoft, it kind of took the place for Sega.
And as much as people argued online, like the console war only benefited us as consumers. It really did, because it was Sony versus Xbox or Microsoft, Xbox, whatever, trying to outdo the other one. And all that did was make it better for us because it gave them something to try and beat next time. And if Xbox just stops trying, then like I said, Sony's going to get lazy, and that's going to really suck for us until somebody else steps up and they're like, you know what? No, I can do better than that easily, and I can outsell it, and I can underprice them and get the same games easy.
I think that's kind of the big one, honestly, is the fact that it's the price. And because once again, I was kind of like thinking about the Nintendo situation with the Switch 2 and all that. I think because of this new generation, the AMD, Extreme Z2 Extreme processor that's going to power this whole new generation of handheld gaming PCs and stuff. I think these handheld gaming PCs, being that they're kind of in a more mature form factor, and given that they're, that they've had a few generations to work out their growing pains and stuff like that, that now that the Switch 2's out and they're starting to really push for high graphics, it's not out, but now that it's been released and the information's been released and people are aware of it, that it's going to really be competing a lot harder for the handheld
Market.
video gaming space.
Yeah.
Whereas before the Switch 2 was able to really get comfortable in being basically the only thing that could do it for the first 3 or 4 years, that could plug into a dock that you could play on your TV, and then, oh, well, I got something to do. Then you just pick it up and take it with you.
Yeah.
Like, and that really, I mean, because of that versatility, it gave them an edge on the market that nobody else could address. But because they've created that edge of the market to begin with, other people start kind of moving in there too, and the little bits that Nintendo has left out, and those areas are starting to grow. And Steam Deck.
Yep.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, and here's the thing, and I kind of mentioned this earlier. It's really upsetting to me that the PS Vita didn't take off the way that it should have, because the PS Vita was an absolute amazing handheld system that nobody put any games on, because the PSP and the PSP Go really just killed the momentum for it, and people were too scared to produce games for it, and that kills me because it was such a good handheld system, and I wish I still had one today, to be completely honest with you, because I mean, I remember playing Terraria and like Valhalla Nights, and anything I played on there, it was just an enjoyable experience. Like, I don't have a negative that I can really give the PlayStation Vita, and that's something that I don't really say that often. Like, I'm sure that if I had it in front of me and like I was playing it, I could come up with something, right? But it's going to be like little piddly nitpicking shit. It's not going to be something major. I mean, it was a great
sticks.
Yeah, it was a great handheld console, and I don't think that there's much of an argument against that, really. Like, for anybody that had one, there's always going to be the haters out there that say, it ain't for me. Like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Sure, your opinion, that's cool.
Right. Well, if somebody ever framed it as, oh, it's just not for me, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, great, that's your opinion, and you're saying it as that. But there's a lot of people that don't like it because of their opinion, and then try to justify it as it's like, oh, just objectively a bad console.
Or you have those people that are like, oh, it's Sony, I hate it. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's not really a reason to hate it, to be completely honest. But I wish that it would have taken off, because that would have been such a competitor for Nintendo for the handheld space.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is I had a Vita. I got the Borderlands 2 special edition stuff, and I honestly would still have it to this day, completely modded and everything like that. I had modded it and had the PSP emulator, had the PS Vita on it. I was playing RetroArch. I had a bunch of retro emulators and stuff.
Yep.
But I gave it to my brother. And so, granted, he's making a lot of use out of it and stuff, so I don't feel bad about it. But it was one of those that, it's still almost a regret in there because of how versatile it was for playing, like, anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even better than the DS Lite, which is widely considered one of the best emulation handhelds.
Yep.
Because you just get a little, the gold cart for it.
Yep.
But, once again, though, the Vita just has so much more horsepower, just has so much more ability to play games and stuff. It can play PS2 games on it.
And the sad part is that we never got to see the full extent of what it could do, because nobody really picked it up, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved to have seen
they all saw the handwriting
limit.
on the wall. Sony just was not willing to support it to the extent that it needed to be.
And like I said, that sucks, because I mean, it could have been an absolute powerhouse in the handheld market. Like, it could still be going today. Oh, not necessarily the Vita, but new releases.
PS Vita 2 or whatever. Basically what the PlayStation Portal wanted to be.
Yeah. But
what? Speaking of that, that's a damn shame. That PlayStation Portal could have been a really cool little device, but they're like, no. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
We know it looks cool and the concept's great, but we're only gonna make it cloud gaming.
Well, not only that, dude, but I won one at work, and if you don't have absolutely stellar internet, there is such latency on it. It is insane. The amount of lag and latency you get is just horrific.
Well, and the thing is even the Vita had the ability to do the remote play and stuff from the PS4, and going from the PS4 to the Vita, like that was fine.
I can do remote play from my phone I can just hook up a controller to my phone, Bluetooth, and I can play fucking PS5 games on my phone. Like, that's not anything really special.
One thing you were supposed to get right and you couldn't do it.
Yeah, the one that you had one job and you fucked it up.
Yeah, basically.
All right, you got any other topics?
Nah, we got through mine.
Alrighty. So this is my last one, and it's a big one for me. So Baldur's Gate 3's final major update comes out on April 15th.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
That is it includes 12 new subclasses, crossplay, and a photo mode.
Yep.
I am so excited because I looked at the classes. I don't know if you looked at the subclasses or not.
I haven't.
Oh, dude. Okay. I got to get in here so I can tell you the subclasses because I am so fucking pumped. Let me see here. Where's it at? I had this pulled up and then I accidentally closed it whenever we started. So, you know.
You just check your history.
But that's what I was telling, or that's what I was gonna say is that if you did get Baldur's Gate 3, then we could have crossplay on the 5th. I mean, download it. Yeah, download it. Then we could do that, and this would be able to make it to where it's pretty much brand new for me since you have 12 new subclasses, which I imagine means there's gonna be new other things as well. Where the hell?
Well, there's got to be like new skills and stuff just to populate the subclasses.
There's gotta be. Is this it? Okay, so the subclasses are College of Glamour for the Bard, Path of Giants for the Barbarian, Death Domain Cleric, Circle of the Stars Druid, Oath of the Crown Paladin, Arcane Archer Fighter, Drunken Master Monk, which I am so excited for. I wanted the drunken style so bad, and I was so sad that it wasn't in there. Swarmkeeper Ranger, Swashbuckler Rogue. These are the ones that I'm super excited for because for some reason I have fallen in love with casters in the recent years. Shadow Magic Sorcerer, Hexblade Warlock, and Blade Singing Wizard.
Is Blade Slinging Wizard?
Singing. S-I-N-G.
Singing.
Yes.
So like psionics or something? Because I have a wizard.
Yes,
That's the one playthrough I've done as a wizard.
I'm almost positive it's going to end up being psionic. Because there's not really any subclasses that really focus on psionic damage.
Well, psionics is it's like this weird thing. I mean, I guess depending on the system, some systems it is like a canonical thing, but other systems though it's like a third party.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm not honestly 100% sure. I'm not sure if D&D. What did they use? 5e for the Baldur's Gate?
Yes.
Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, so I'm not sure if 5e has an officially, a supported psionics class, but it'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah. But I am super excited for this. This is going to, like, the Death Domain Cleric has me really pumped up. I'm super excited to see that. I've always wanted to play a cleric, but they just seem very blah to me. So, like, I've never played a cleric. That would be super cool. I want to know what the Oath of the Crown Paladin is, even though I always end up breaking my oath. Drunken Master obviously has me excited. Swashbuckler for the Rogue is a classic D&D subclass that you love to see. Shadow Magic Sorcerer.
How many players is it?
I think you can have 4.
Really?
I think so.
I'm kind of harkening back to the perfect number sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe this is something that we could get like Kylan and Jordan in on. We could do.
That's what I was thinking.
A playthrough. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, because once again, I mean, Path of Exile is great, but it's not going to be the only thing we play for,
No.
in perpetuity.
No, and I really want. So I've only ever played Baldur's Gate 3 solo. I would absolutely love to do a multiplayer playthrough. That's why I keep trying to get you to download it because I'm like, I want to see what it's like. I must know.
Yeah, well, I've got extra storage now, so I think I can take and move some stuff around, and I can actually download it. So I might do that after the podcast.
That'd be awesome. But I am super excited for this. Go away. Don't ever pop up in my face like that again.
I thought it was the fly.
No, it was a freaking pop up for my computer. I am very excited for this, and if Drunken Master works anything like 3.5, then, which I know it's probably not, but that is my favorite class out of any class, is a drunken style monk, because you can do so much with it. I always it's not necessarily off topic because it's technically D&D. One of my favorite characters I've ever rolled was a dwarven drunken monk, and his job was a brewer. So he would always carry this big ass barrel of dwarven mead, which I mean, it was the highest alcohol content that I could get in the campaign, and I would
He
always
was
get.
always sampling his own supply.
Yep, and it was great. I loved it so much. He did so much damage.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
Oh yeah. You know, that's one thing I always like about Baldur's Gate 3 and just that style, like the D&D backbone, you know, like Divinity and games of that nature,
Yeah,
is that you can min-max them if you want, but you don't have to,
yeah,
you know? So you can go through and do a pure flavor build if you want and still get through relatively fine because they're trying to balance it for the
yeah.
somewhere around the middle of the scale, you know? I mean, obviously if you're deliberately underpowering your character, it's going to be harder and you can
Yeah.
make it to be a more difficult experience.
We'll
But
see.
at the same time, if you're min maxing, it'll be just a breeze too.
We'll see. And here's the thing: is that like, um, my first couple playthroughs, I did like a normal difficulty, and then I did the hardest difficulty. And anymore, I just kind of play on the easiest difficulty. Not necessarily because I can't play the harder ones. It's just I don't know. I like to mess around, and I like to see what kind of ridiculous shit that I can get up to, and what I can get away with, and what I can't. Because I mean, there's some things that you can do in the game that are just absolutely insane, and I don't know. Baldur's Gate, it's really tickling like my top 10 favorite games of all time. Like it is right there, and that is something that I wasn't really expecting from it. I was excited for it coming up immediately as soon as I heard about it and seeing like the early gameplay and stuff like that. And one thing that I think I really like about it is it's essentially just I mean it is just a miniature D&D campaign. I mean that's what it is. And
Yeah.
it's like one of the pre-boxed campaigns, you know what I mean? But it's still
Yeah, like a module.
yeah, but it's still one of those things that you can change the story. Like your actions really do actually matter in this game, and it does change what happens in the later acts. And I mean, it's cool, you know.
Well, that's one thing I have to say is that this game is a masterclass on dialogue choices.
Yes.
Like dialogue is such an important thing in video games. Like I mean, obviously, you know, you can get by with not having ideal dialogue if your game doesn't revolve around it. You know, your game's like a shooter game. You don't need to worry about the squad and your single player experience having the best banter because that's not why you're there playing it. But a game like Baldur's Gate or, you know, Dragon Age or,
yeah.
you know,
See,
some
let's
other
go.
BioWare entities,
Yeah, let's go back to last
you
week.
have to have good dialogue.
Yeah, see, let's go back to last week because literally the only reason that you have dialogue options in Baldur's Gate, or not Baldur's Gate, Veilguard is fucking for romance. And that is such horseshit, and I hate it so much. It's like, it doesn't matter what I press because it's not going to change the story any. It changes if I get to fuck somebody or not, and I'm not really interested. I don't give a shit about that. So
See, it's like here's your choice right here, right? Here's your choice. It's like a Telltale game, you know. It's always my biggest complaint about a Telltale game is your choice is right here. Here's your options. All right, you go who or who. Okay, and then as the game progresses, you go way out here, and then it meets right back again.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter which way you went; it just colors your scenery for that amount of time, and then you're right back at the same spot. So that way they can progress the game, no matter what you chose. Whereas with Baldur's Gate, you'll go and here's your choice, and it'll go.
Yep.
And then now you never see him again.
Yep, 100%. But I seen this this afternoon. I was on lunch and I was like just kind of scrolling through and seeing what was going on, and this article was posted yesterday, and I was like, no fucking shot. Super excited about it. Super excited.
Yeah, honestly, and the thing is when did you say April 15th?
April 15th. 2 more days.
Yeah,
Well,
so
technically 2 more days after tonight. So.
Right. So at that point, then downloading it now would probably be a better bet. Getting it now, even though we may not play until after that, I think downloading it now would be a good idea, just so I can have the update ready whenever it comes out.
For sure. But, yep, I'm very excited about that. I don't necessarily have anything else to talk about. Do you? Anything?
Nope, I kind of touched over the things I had set aside and things I had written down. So,
Alrighty. Well, then I suppose that we'll call it here.
all right.
But I appreciate you guys for watching. We are gonna, like I said last week, we're gonna do an episode every Saturday. I'll have it up probably on Sundays, Sunday, Monday, somewhere around there.
Right.
If you do watch it, I appreciate you for watching. I'll have Mouse's channel linked in the description. Check him out. He makes some really good content. I would recommend his Duolingo video because it made me smile.
Yeah.
But alrighty, guys, have a good one, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.